In the travelling community, it has been a cultural accepted way to fight for the honour of their family, the pride for themselves, and the respect from their opponents. For generations, families have resolved issues by doing this, and with a referee in place and rules abided to, they often resolve many serious issues. But this week in Northern Ireland, the son of a revered bare-knuckle boxer called Joyce Jr. has been sentenced for the murder of a young man called Paul McDonagh. A lot of you have sent me the CCTV footage from the day that this happened, and we couldn't react to this any sooner due to the legal issues that were ongoing, and so as not to interfere in any trial. But in this episode, we're going to discuss the legal aspects of it and the conviction, and also the history connected to what the judge said in court was a feud. The Joyce family was so respected that the father of Joyce was sent the boxing gloves from heavyweight champion of the world, Tyson Fury, out of respect for the legacy that they had in the travelling community.
Right, we're very thankful to Tyson Fury, the greatest man in the world, not alone to be the king of all the gypsies. He's the king of the world, Tyson Fury. He sent this glove back to my little grandson, his son Joe's Teddy. And we're pretty proud of it. And it'll be an ornament for the rest of the life with Joe and Teddy. Thanks very much, Tyson Fury. And I wish you all a happy new year, your father and the whole lot.
And as well as that, thanks Andy Lee as well for organising everything.
And thanks Andy Lee for organising this. He was chatting Joe, another man I know all my life as well, a great boxer as well. But for the super heavyweights, you are the best.
The McDonagh family also had a big reputation in the travelling community, and one of their relatives was known as one of the best bare-knuckle boxers in Ireland, and his name was James McDonagh. But before we talk about the history, we're going to talk about the case that has just been heard in court. Joseph Joyce was accused of murdering John in an argument that took place in Enniskillen in April 2020. In court, it was heard that the argument started over a fence dispute, and the McDonaghs lived behind the Joyces. Several members of the McDonagh family then chose to walk round to the Joyce home with weapons, and an altercation occurred. This resulted in Paul McDonagh being stabbed in the leg and bleeding out shortly afterwards on the street in front of his family. The CCTV shows the moment that the McDonaghs approach Joseph Joyce, who is on his own, who is holding a weapon in one hand and also acid in the other, the prosecution said. Joseph's lawyer said that he was defending himself and he felt terrified for his life and was only trying to protect his family. The mother of the murder victim testified in court that her son died inside her arms, and she also said that the wife of Joyce had said to him to finish him off in the street. Joyce was later charged with 5 offences that arose from the incident, and one of them was murdering John McDonagh and also wounding his older brother, Gerard. He denied all charges and stood trial at Dungannon Crown Court in Belfast. The victim's sister-in-law, Caroline McDonagh, was called to give evidence, and she said that she witnessed the incident involving the 3 McDonaghs and Joyce on Cullen Mellow on the evening of Saturday, April the 11th, 2020. Caroline had told the court that after John had been stabbed, he lay on the floor and said that I'm gone. They tried to stem the bleeding, but there was too much, and there was nothing they could do to save his life. From the CCTV footage and witness statements, they said that Joe was trying to defend himself and he didn't use the weapon until the very end. And also, because he hit him in the leg, this would be a good way to defend himself for saying that he didn't try to kill the person. But the prosecution was arguing that there was a feud that went on between these two families, and this wasn't just a one-off incident, and this was deep-rooted. The mother of the murder victim testified. Joyce also said, "I'm the king," after he murdered him. Despite the medical attention that he received at the scene, John McDonagh died 2 days later on April the 13th. The slash hook that was used in the death was seized by the PSNI and was brought into court and shown to the jury and the judge. His defence solicitor said that he believed the family were trying to cause him serious harm, and Joe only used the bull hook as a defence to protect them. He said they were armed with a 12-inch knife, a garden spade, a garden hoe and a little bit of liquid that may have been acid. The solicitor told the court that Joyce said he was terrified and believed he was fighting for his life. He expressed deep remorse and regret for the death of Mr McDonagh. The court has heard there was concern over feuds in the traveller community, and Mr Joyce had been visited by the Travellers Mediation Group to try to resolve the issue and avoid any further confrontation. The judge said the defendant is described as a bare-knuckle boxer, and footage exists of his conduct online where he's calling people out to fight. The CCTV of the incident was also played during the trial, and Joe's defence was based on self-defence. But the judge said that he had ample opportunity to leave the scene and chose to bring the weapon. The judge said it was unfortunate that the word feud had been used in the case, and he said, "I'm also very familiar with the so-called feuds in the travelling community, but I'm glad that there are groups that are trying to stop these from escalating." A jury found Joe Joyce guilty of his murder, and his wife was heard in court crying out that Joe didn't mean to do it. And from all the cases that I've covered in the several years I've been doing this, in many circumstances that would have been the case, that he could have got manslaughter and violent disorder, but due to the prosecution's case where they tried to use the history between the families as a way to say that this was premeditated, because you can't get a murder conviction without premeditation. Historically, there is a lot of history between the McDonaghs and also a family called the Nevins. And in a documentary in 2011, it was revealed that they was all actually distant cousins.
I want to be better than James Quinn.
I have to tomorrow win for the sake of not just myself, for the sake of our people.
The Quinns, the Collinses, the Joyces, we're all cousins. And I think it's a pity with the children that's grown into that life.
Quinn McDonagh wants you to go out and fight him and take the head off his body. Two families don't like each other. This is the same.
The three McDonagh brothers that featured were Paddy Curley, James Quinn McDonagh, and also Michael McDonagh as well, who was later convicted of brutally murdering his wife in 2015. The documentary was filmed over 12 years and was actually featured at the Sundance Film Festival. Ian Palmer spent 12 years filming the fights and also trying to get inside the culture of the travelling community. They also speak about the element where there is a lot of money to be won as well. Prize fighting is very respected in the community, so they will arrange the fights, hype them up beforehand, and then also there is a lot of money to be potentially won for the family that walks away the victor.
Yeah, I know you've had feuds with back in the day, the Nevins and the Joyces. It's been well documented. I know is everything
everything's
calm now?
kosher there. You know
Good.
what? I do speak to the Nevins and I do speak to the Joyces, and some of the Joyces and Nevins are actually family of ours. You know, so yeah. It's all good there at the moment, and everyone's kind of, you know, speaking on good terms, which is not a bad thing. I think 90% of what did happen should never have happened. You know, the feuding between ourselves and the other two clients, I'm glad and I'm happy that's put to bed, and long may it last.
These feuds are so deep-rooted that they can be going on for several years and nobody can try to resolve them. So sadly, in this story, nobody has really won. A family has lost one of their own, and two children have lost their father as well, in a case that is heavily disputed by various groups. So I really want to hear what people have to say on this story, and please pay your respects in the comments and try to be constructive. Don't forget to follow me online as well at Scarcity Studios on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter and Facebook, and I'll be back again very shortly with some more news.